Okay, so you know what? Once again, good morning, Stephen, and a very good afternoon to Dr. Sakthivel, members of AEPC, officials of various companies participating in this meeting. And also, I cannot miss Sudarshan Sharma. Thank you very much, sir. And Anuj Bhatia. Thank you once again. Welcome, everyone. So, it's a pleasure for me that today I'm a binding bridge for this special meeting, introducing an opportunity to make a business connection between a 100-plus-year-old prestigious US textile company, Darlington, and the top of the line cream brands from India. Though I prefer to be informal, but sometimes formality brings a little flavor of its own. So first, please allow me to introduce myself in brief. Won't take more than 30 seconds. My name is Navin Pathak, and I work in the capacity of COO at Entry India LLC. We are based out of New Jersey, US. And the mission that which Entry India works on is very simple, that there are opportunities, we find these opportunities, and then connect the businesses with these opportunities. And that is what the Entry India means. At the same time, for the Indian companies interested in expanding their business to the US, that is also a charter. And then what we help Indian brands establish their presence in one day in US.
Others, please mute yourself because you are disturbing the others.
Mute me, mera. Mute hai na.
So as I said, on the reverse side, we assist Indian companies establish their presence within a single day. And India becomes their partner. We form a company. We set up their banking. We set up their warehousing and everything. And that we can do in single day. In the morning, you say, Navin, we want to set it up. In the evening, you are set it up. And with that said, for the opportunity for which we have assembled today here, Stephen Perry will shortly be introducing Darlington Fabrics Company and their capabilities, capacities, details of the product range, and of course, company's expectations from India. Before I begin further on this, I would like to convey my regards and many thanks to Dr. Sakthivel for taking the charge of ensuring that this meeting happens today. Towards seizing the opportunity, I welcome and invite Dr. Sakthivel to say a few words. And also, it will be wonderful if all the officials of various participating companies from India introduce themselves and get to say a few words. This will help Stephen also to get to understand who the audience is. And well, Dr. Sakthivel, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Navin. And again, good morning to you and Steve. Also, I appreciate both of you participating on this VC. And we have started the exercise 2 months back, and you're all kind enough to help us out. In short, now we in AEPC, we understand the importance of the. Please mute yourself. So we in apparel exporters, we decided that the future is only for the MMF garments. So we should switch over to from or expand to MMF garments. Especially with the today's scenario, we see that active wear, sports wear, swimwear, and other performance fabric and wear. So everything is go around about with the MMF garments. So even though we are number 1, 2 in fiber and yarn, but we are very weak in fabrics. We have so many mills in India, but still we are not able to produce the fabric which USA buyer wants or European buyer wants, because we are not having that international standard fabric. So mostly we import from Taiwan, China, and Korea. So some from even small places like near to the Taiwan. So what we thought in the AEPC, so we should have a technology for producing this fabric to the international standard. And fortunately, Government of India also realized that and they are coming with a product link scheme, especially for the MMF garments. They identified about 40 HS code and 10 HS code on technical textiles. They are going to give some incentives for producing these garments, and also they are going to give incentives for establishing a processing park. And also Government of India is going to have a 7 mega park all over India. It will be like plug and play kind of a thing, facilities they want to create. So with all these things, we thought that we should have a real technology giant, I can say, that they should come to our help. So we find that other day we had a PC with the Darlington and Steve. They say that they are in this business for more than 100 years. Am I right, Steve? I think Steve is more.
Yes, sir. No, yes, sir. So we were founded in 1909, and so we have a long, rich history in textiles. And you know, obviously, over the last call it about 40 years, our focus has been on performance textiles for intimate apparel, swimwear, activewear as it's grown, and now the medical market as well.
Good. And so when we had a last time VC with the Darlington, and we all discussed how to go about it. So today VC is taking place on that line of action on it. Now, I just want to tell Steve that we are also become a number 2 producer of medical textiles now, because this opportunity comes after this corona crisis we face. So within 3 months, we started producing the medical textile, and we became a number 2 in the world. So with this, now Navin, you want others to just introduce themselves, and we'll ask Steve to speak.
Yes, please.
What is the protocol you want to follow?
Sir, I think it will be a great idea that will give Steve some, insight into who the member companies are who are participating. Right, Steve? What do you think? Is that
would be great. I have no problem with brief introductions. No issue whatsoever.
Wonderful. Okay, then I'll request I'll read out the names so that they can introduce themselves and they say what exactly they are producing. So, Mr. Subbu KM Knitwear, please.
Yeah, good evening everyone. I am Subramaniam from KM Knitwear and Jai Vishnu Kranti. I am a fabric manufacturer. We have a vertical setup of from spinning to garmenting. We are 100% cotton manufacturer and cotton fabric manufacturer.
But you are not into the man-made fiber fabrics. So you are interested to have a joint venture or a technology collaboration, is it?
No, we have to think that, and we have a plan for the future.
Okay, good. Then the next is Money Apparels, Mr. Balasubramaniam. Mr. Balu, please. Is he not there? I think he has not joined. Then I'll request Mr. Arvind from Poppy's Art. Arvind? Arvind, are you there? I think again I'm not able to see him. Then we'll have Mr. Navin from Clifton Exports. Mr. Navin? Are you able to hear me, Mr. Navin?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sorry, my mic was on mute. I'm Navin from Clifton Exports. We are an undergarment manufacturer. We use more of cotton and cotton stretch fabrics. We have our own processing plant to process cotton and synthetic fabrics. We used to do polar fleece and velour fabrics also in our plant, but recently, because of competitiveness, we stopped that production. But our plant is capable of doing synthetic fabrics and so, but the technology expertise is not there with the technicians available in Tirupur. So we have not much proceeded on that line. We are currently doing only cotton and cotton stretch fabrics for now. Any inputs for us to do synthetic fabrics in this line will be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Navin. Now I request Mr. Dinesh Kumar from Victor's Dyeing. Mr. Dinesh. Mr. Dinesh. I think he is also not there. Then we'll have Mr. Gopalakrishnan from Classic Mills. Mr. Gopal? Sharma, you just see why these people have joined. I have seen them. Sharma, just call them and say, where are they?
I think he's on mute.
Yeah. Good evening.
Mr. Gopal, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I'm a vertical manufacturer from spinning until garment apparels. So we make most of the product with cotton and CVC and blends. So we do import a little small quantity of fabrics from Korea, and we are very much interested to develop this MMF fabric, so which is the future of the world. So I am more interested, sir. Whatever the best working possibilities, we are open to adopt it.
Thank you, Gopal. Then we have a Paragon Apparels, Mr. Roshan Bhai.
Yeah. Hi everyone. We are at Paragon Apparels. We have been manufacturing sportswear for the last 20 years for leading international brands like Adidas, Skechers, Hummel, Puma, and all these people. And we are vertical. We have our own fabric mill. We have our own garmenting setup. And we had set up this fabric mill specially for synthetic fabrics because we used to import synthetic fabrics out of Taiwan and Korea. Now we tied up with a Korean company with a technical transfer to India, and we started making synthetic fabrics in India, which we used to import out of Taiwan. We have been doing it for the last 6-7 years. All our machinery is from Korea because our technical partners were from Korea. But the business has grown significantly, and we feel that we need to enhance our capabilities further so that we can cater to the wide diversity of brands making sportswear out of man-made fiber. We already do a lot of synthetic fabrics with a lot of treatments like moisture wicking, anti-odor, all kinds of basic treatments which are required for the sportswear fabric. And we would further like to, but we are still completely into circular knits. We would further like to enhance our capacities and expertise in warp knitting as well as improve our circular knit performance from our mill. We are based in North India and our mill is in Himachal Pradesh. So that's it.
Thank you, Roshan. Now the Victor Dyeing, Mr. Mohan is there. Mr. Mohan. Mohan, please come on the line.
Hello, sir. Hello, everybody. This is Mohan from Victor's Dyings.
Please. Your video is not on, Mohan.
The video is not on, sir. Just a moment.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Please go.
So we are we are a vertical unit, sir. Just a moment.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. This is Mohan from Victor's Dyings. I'm a garment manufacturer. We manufacture cotton-oriented products. So we are very much interested in MMF products. So we are looking for some new opportunities in these products. So if there is some new opportunities, yes, we are ready to work on some new projects in this.
Thank you, Mohan.
Yes,
We
sir.
have Bindal Silk Mills, Mr. Arya.
Hello.
Yeah.
This is Ravindra Arya from Bindal Silk Mills Private Limited. We are situated in Surat and we are in polyesters. We produce around 250,000 meters of polyester fabric per day. And we are supplying to garment exporters who are supplying garments to national and international brands. I am also the president of an association called Palsana Industries Association, where we have around 110 dyeing and printing mills, and they all are in polyester fabrics. But we have little low quality fabrics, and we all want to, some of them, not all, want to improve to some high-tech fabrics. I am also the chairman of Palsana Enviro Protection Limited, and we are processing and treating around 150 million liters per day of effluent coming from the textile units. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we have from Reliance, Mr. Kunjan Sharma or Mr. Ritesh, please. From Reliance.
Hi. This is Ritesh Sharma this side from Reliance Industries Limited. So today we are the largest producers of petrochemicals in India and amongst the top 10 in the world. We are the world's largest integrated producers of polyester, fibers and filament yarns. We have a capacity of close to 3 million tons per annum, which equates to almost like 5% of the global supply of polyester, fibers and filaments. So with our new focus and innovations under the R-Elan brand at Reliance Industries Limited, we are focusing on new innovations on the emerging consumer needs of sustainability, wellness, performance and aesthetics. And we are specializing in yarns, which is kind of relates with the topic today. So we are specializing in yarns which are apt for the functional wear or the active wear fabric. Thank you.
Steve, I told about that we are the number 2 producer of yarn and fiber. He is the gentleman who is from the company Reliance. So the next I'll ask Mr. Sanjay from Triberg. Mr. Sanjay.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Sakthivel, for organizing this meeting. Very much required. And Triberg is essentially an end-to-end service provider. We are essentially the bridge between the buyers internationally and the supply chain here in India. We work very closely with Dr. Sakthivel and his team, as well as quite a few of the manufacturers who are present in the meeting today. All I can say is that it's a very exciting opportunity, and meetings like this where we get to hear from Mr. Stephen from Darlington going to go a long way to upgrade the supply chain of fabric in India. So very excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sanjay. Then we have Manish Gautam from Richa Global. Manish.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, sir. This is Manish Gautam from Richa Global Exports Private Limited. My colleague, Mr. Rohit Vashisht, has also joined. I am taking care of all the woven fabrics sourcing, and Mr. Rohit Vashisht is taking care of all the imported knitted fabrics, right? So we at Richa Global are basically exporting apparels for women's wear, basically top wear, dresses, and somewhat around, we are also manufacturing some PP garments, medical garments as well. So really excited about this meeting. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Gautam. I think I have called everyone. Is there anybody left, please?
I'm Rohit. I'm also joining with Manish Gautam.
Okay, yeah.
And I belong to Richa Global Exports, and we are one of the largest garment exporters of knitted garments. Really, it is a nice opportunity to get into the warp knitted fabrics, because we are not getting a lot of warp knitted fabrics, especially in India. And if we can get good fabrics out of there, then it's good for us.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else?
If I can just give my introduction as well.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I am Atul. My company name is Goel Knitfab Private Limited. We are situated in Surat. We are into warp knitting. We have tricot, rachel, and double needle bar machines. We also do circular and woven fabrics, and our domain is only synthetics. Our applications are for activewear, medical, intimate garments, and some semi-technical textiles. Thank you.
Thank you, Atul. I think now we can request Mr. Steve to come in.
Sure, absolutely.
Yes, Steve. Now the whole show is yours.
All right, well, I'll do the best I can. But thank you all for joining today. I greatly appreciate it. And Navin and Dr. Sakthivel, thank you so much for setting up this introductory meeting. You know, we are a U.S. manufacturer of warp knits. That's our specialty, right? We are only warp knits. We don't circular knit, and we only focus on man-made fibers, both nylon as well as polyester. And generally our niche is nylon spandex and polyester spandex fabrics. So that's really what we're known for in the marketplace. I'm gonna take a few minutes to briefly go through a PowerPoint presentation, so I make sure I cover all the bases. And then I'm going to share with you about a 15-minute virtual tour around our two factories. We have two in our facility here in Rhode Island. That I'll walk you through, and then I'll show you some brief photos just of most of you are going to be familiar with this, but the product end use categories that we're are the biggest pieces of Darlington's business today. And then again, please feel free, questions, anything, I'd be happy to do it. I mean, our focus at the moment, to be brief, is to try to increase Darlington's export presence in India. It's a market we really have not done much business with at all. We've done a very small amount over the last few years, primarily in medical compression garments. But we're excited to do more, and we are open to potential partnerships, going forward. I would tell you that that's something that, we looked at a few years ago, and it's something that we might be interested in, but at the moment our focus is trying to grow our exports, and then potentially, slowly, potentially look at partnerships with other companies. But with that, I'm going to attempt to share my screen and work you through a small PowerPoint presentation, and then we'll go from there. Doctor, can you see those slides?
Yeah, we can see it, yeah.
Perfect. I always ask, just in case.
No, we can see it clearly.
Let me see here. Okay. So the history of our company is that the actual company Darlington was founded in 1880. At that time, it was changed. The name was changed in 1941 from the National Fabric Corporation to Darlington Fabrics. And in 1972, Darlington was acquired by the Moore Company and joined the Moore Company family of companies. As I mentioned, we're located in Westerly, Rhode Island. We're just about 2 hours south of Boston and about 3 hours north of New York City. So we're incredibly centrally located and easy to travel between New York and Boston. The Moore Company, which again acquired Darlington in 1972, is a fourth generation family-run business. We currently have two divisions. The founding company, which was founded in 1909, is called George C. Moore. And in 1972, the Moore Company acquired Darlington Fabrics. So as I mentioned, we specialize in warp knits. We have two manufacturing facilities here in Westerly, Rhode Island. Our largest one is what we call Beach Street. It's a little over 200,000 square feet. We have sales service, sampling, receiving, shipping, and then our key operations here at the facility, and the one I'm sitting in at the moment, is warping, knitting. We have some what we call offline inspection located here as well, gray storage and finished goods and warehousing, and also a quality assurance physical testing laboratory. Approximately a mile and a half down the road, we have another facility, which is called Canal Street, just a little under 90,000 square feet. And in this facility is where we have our color development and color testing labs, our dyeing and finishing operations, and what we refer to as online inspection, right at the integrated inspection that's right at the back end of our stenter frames. So the markets that we serve are approximately 60% apparel and athletic wear. And when I say athletic wear, some of you would say active wear. We've really carved out a niche in what we're going to call on-field athletic wear. So it's what the athletes wear, whether it's on the basketball court or the football field, American football. We don't play so much in what I'm going to call what the rest of the world calls football, but other markets that we service are the shapewear market, and that's really a subset in the intimate apparel category. But that's a place where warp knits are very useful. And swimwear, which has become over the years a smaller category for Darlington, as a lot of swimwear has moved to Asia, but something that we still do participate in. And then I'm going to call it the fashion and sportswear area, where we have some specialized niche business. The growth area for Darlington, which now medical accounts for almost 40% of our end use categories, is in the respiratory headgear space, medical compression garments, so post-surgical, when the patients need to wear a certain type of garment after a surgery, whether it's elective or not, and that's a growing business for us. The orthopedic and prosthetic market, also a growing market for us. And one where we're just starting to make some inroads is what I'm going to call scar management and wound care. So those are some of the specialty niches that make up our business segments. Major customers: Nike, Under Armour, Fruit of the Loom, Soma, Miracle Suit, Venus Swimwear, and Spanx. And again, those are the eye catchers, but we certainly have a robust market of what I'm going to call mid-tier customers as well. But as you all know, and you're all business folks, it takes a wide array of companies to make up an order book to run a factory 12 months a year. And so that's what we're always focused on. What we call the Darlington difference. So why do people buy from us? Because we are a little bit more expensive than our competition. Color, we do custom colors. We don't stock anything. Everything is made to order. So we build our colors from the ground up. Customers give us a particular target or targets that we need to match. So those custom colors and finishes to the customer specifications with color accuracy and consistency. I will stress the consistency part. Our customers demand that they have dye lot to dye lot consistency. So any of the folks that are on the line today know how important that is to our customer base, to ensure that a color that you made this season matches a color that you delivered last season, so that when those garments are on the racks or older inventory of fabric is cut, that those particular colors match. Performance reliability, we maintain strict physical specifications for weight, width, and stretches across our dye lots. Quality control, as a leading mill, we're vertically integrated from yarn to finished fabric. And you'll see that in the video a little bit later, I'll show you. And we have a wide breadth of fabrics, you know, anywhere from, I know we're still on the, you know, in the back ages here, but we're 1.5 ounces to 12 ounces per square yard. I know you're on metric, but very lightweight fabrics, and they range in widths from 45 inches to 120 inches wide. Another important piece of our business is what we call prepared for print fabrics. The gentleman that spoke earlier that has a print plant or has print plants and print capabilities, that's interesting to us. We make prepared for print fabrics, or PFP. Generally nylon spandex and polyester spandex blends. So for either acid dye printing, in rotary screen, can be digital printed as well, or sublimation or heat transfer printing on the polyester spandex side. We've got some certifications that are important for our business. NATIFIC, which is a color accreditation program that we've was instituted by a few of our customers a few years ago, has been a real help for us in furthering our quality initiatives in color. And then we, as I'll point out, are ISO 9001-2015 certified by DNVGL. We did that approximately about 5 years ago. And we are also currently working on getting ISO 13485 certified in 2021. COVID affected our business strategy immensely. Back in just shy of a year ago, or a little bit more than a year ago, we shut down for a few weeks for a thorough cleaning, sanitation, and also basically getting up and ready with PPE for our employees. You know, we had weekly meetings. We had to slim down our business because it was basically our apparel business stopped, and our medical business was the only segment that really kept us going throughout COVID. Our business started to pick up, I would tell you, in about August of 2020, and it's been incredibly strong ever since. And we're probably the busiest we've ever been at the moment in almost all of our segments, as we seem to be filling a pipeline for the last few months. It was certainly our strategy to keep COVID out of our plant, and we were successful in doing that. Now we've had a robust vaccination program as well, so business is getting closer to being back to normal again. I'm lucky to have a great team around me. I am the Senior Vice President of Darlington. I've got some great leaders around me. I have a Director of Sales, Carol Gross, who leads our apparel business. Mindy Earlywine, who leads our medical and industrial business. We've brought on approximately a year and a half ago our Director of Business Development, Jack Boyd, that if we start to see some synergies between some of the companies on the line today, I will get Jack involved. And then we have some spectacular salespeople, Jennifer House, who runs our medical sales, and Beth Rogers, who runs both of our apparel as well as some medical sales as well. I'll quickly go through this is a touch on this, but again, what it takes to make a warp knit. As many of you know, one of the steps that differentiates or separates ourselves from circular knitting is actually putting the yarn on big aluminum beams. That's called warping, the process of warping. So we warp, knit, heat set, dye, finish, inspect, test, pack, and ship our fabrics. We certainly also have some what I'm going to call face finishing or mechanical finishes of napping and sueding, and those are generally done after the dyeing process. As I mentioned, warping is really key to what we do. The picture you see on the screen, and you'll see it in the video a little bit later, are basically pictures of packages of yarn, and we basically have 2 hard yarn warpers within Darlington. We can warp both flat filament and textured yarns, both nylon and polyester. And we also have spandex warping capabilities, which is a slightly different machine. We have 3 spandex warpers at Darlington. We've made some heavy investments in high-speed knitting. We have both Carl Meyer and Liba machines. And if you're familiar in the industry, you'll know that Carl Meyer bought Liba approximately 5 years ago. So all those machines are actually under the Carl Meyer umbrella at the moment. Nylon spandex blends, polyester spandex blends. And we do make some 100% nylon and 100% polyester fabrics as well. Our constructions range from Tricot, Rochelle, PowerNet. Our gauge ranges from 24 gauge to 36 gauge. And our widths on our knitting machines range from 130 to 170 inches, which manufacture finished fabrics up to 124 inches wide. And again, our weight ranges here, a little bit more friendly to everybody here, 52 grams per square meter to a little over 400 grams per square meter. And our current capacity is about 12 million yards annually. I would tell you that, you know, that number can fluctuate a little bit depending on what machines we're running. So that can flex down a little bit on certain narrower styles, and it can flex upwards if we're knitting a little bit more of the wider fabrics. Dyeing, we do a variety of different dyeing capabilities, both beam dyeing and jet dyeing, both pressure and atmospheric. So we have a wide range of dyeing capabilities. I would tell you that we're starting to add to our jet portfolio as well, as we see that business changing a little bit. So we are starting to add pressure jets to our mix in a large way. We're installing a new jet as we speak. Tenter frames or stenter frames, we've got 2 of them. And so those are our finishing capabilities. And we do both, again, as I mentioned, napping for what we call UBL or unbroken loop. That's a big segment for us in our medical business. And sueding. And many of you might be familiar with sueding, or what some folks call sanding, where we're literally breaking the filaments with sandpaper, but we have a multi-roll sueder as well. And again, I think as most folks in the man-made fiber portion of the business, you know, our focus is on technology and performance technology, so we can add moisture management, wicking, antimicrobial or anti-odor, soil release, durable water repellent finishes, UV protection, and we're always looking at new chemistries as they come out. You know, currently right now we're starting to do some in the space of the leggings market, in the shapewear market, some aloe finishes and things of that nature. So there's a lot going on. We're always looking at new chemistries to ensure that we're providing our customer value adds. So quality control is at the heart of what we do. So we need to test everything. Every single dye lot that comes through this facility gets tested and has to meet physical specifications of a particular style. We have a fully conditioned physical specification lab. We also have a color specification lab as well at our other facility. And everything is very customer specific is when we develop a particular fabric. We also utilize a network of independent labs or third-party labs that either our customers specify us to utilize, or we tend to do some additional want to correlate. So we use some independent labs as well. And we have traceability, and this is very, very important for both our apparel and medical, but specifically medical, from the fiber all the way through the final dye lot. So we have total traceability. So if there's a certain dye lot of yarn that we utilize, we know exactly what fabrics and what particular dye lots that particular dye lot of fiber went into, so that we can actually, if there's a quality problem, we have full traceability. So these are a listing of the tests that we do, and I won't get into these into detail, but we have a wide range of tests that we have the capability of doing in-house. They're listed here, and I'm happy to share this presentation with the team. And again, we do quite a lot of what I'm going to call design and development work. You know, again, whether we're matching a substrate that you're currently buying from another supplier, or you want to build a new fabric from the ground up, we have the capability in-house to do analysis, specification requirements and priorities, volume forecasting. We archive we have a significant archive of what I'm going to call existing fabrics that we've developed over the last 35 or 40 years. So there's not much we haven't seen or done at one point. And we have a robust portfolio in-house of raw materials to be able to run our trials. So color development, I mean, just as we approach physical fabrics, we also approached the color side, right? So we're building colors from the ground up. So we're going to ask our customers what their requirements and specifications are right at the start to ensure that we meet everybody's expectations. We're going to ask for a shade target. And then we go through a process of, once you've established the shade you want us to match, we're going to do it on the substrate that you're ordering from us. So we go through that lab dipping process where we're going to send you some submits of lab dips for the customer to choose and select. And then before we go into production, we're only going to dye one single dye lot of that particular color. We are going to submit that back out to the customer, and hopefully they're going to set that particular dye lot as standard. But we only do that, and we're careful in this process to ensure that we meet the customer's objectives and that we basically create a repeatable production formula. And this is just the color development process flow. I won't bore you with this at the moment, but we take great pains to basically do it right the first time so that we build a program that meets all of our customers' expectations. We also offer what I'm going to call print and surface design. We do not do these in-house. We work with partners in the United States to be able to do this, but these are also things that we offer to our customers. Rotary screen printing, both acid dye, chloride. We can do pigment printing with some of our partners, as well as deluster. So everybody that's familiar with either the swimwear business, the intimate apparel business, the activewear or athletic wear, these are all important processes and applications that our customers take advantage of. We also do foils, glitters, metallics, magic disappearing prints, and also can do work with partners to offer dye sublimation, dimensional embossing or serraying, and then also some of these more, call it functional prints, where we offer cooling, gripper prints, and perforation. So again, some of these things really separate us from our competition, and we can really make some unique processes, unique fabrics with these added processes. So we continue to invest in new machinery in both our facilities. We've made heavy investments in our rigid warping. We've updated tensioners and scanners, and we actually purchased approximately 4 years ago a brand new Carl Meyer spandex warper. And in knitting, this number is a little outdated. I think we're up to 19 new machines since 2011. Every time we replace a machine from, let's call it the late 80s or early 90s with a new machine from Carl Meyer, it between double and triples the speed. So this investment has been key to bring our efficiencies up and to compete with a lot of, I'm going to call it, newer plants that we compete with in Asia. And we've also invested in kind of cutting edge brake scanners as well to, again, keep our knitting efficiencies very, very high. On the dyeing and finishing side, we've recently finished some products of insulating dye machines, and that's really to save energy. There's a huge push here to save energy on our side, and we've got an upgraded chemical dispensing unit from EAS that's really helping help us with our formulas and repeatability as well. And we've also bought some new systems in order to really, for you folks that know a lot about finishing, almost be able to run your stenter frames on cruise control. These Pleva systems are state of the art. So we've invested in now 2 of these new units for both our stenter frames. Something that's been really being pushed by our customer base, and certainly the large brands, is really trying to create a sustainable product, and water conservation plays a huge role in that. We've been able to reduce our water consumption by a little over 10% since 2017. There's ongoing efforts here at Darlington to continue to do that. we've also aligned ourselves with a partner called Cascade Energy to really, it's a third party to help us really kind of look for every opportunity for us to bring energy savings to our plant and to ensure that we're being as sustainable as possible. And for our medical business, we are in the process of preparing for the certification for ISO 13485. I would tell you that our original target was Q1 for the audit, but because of COVID, it pushed back our timeline a little bit. We're preparing for that audit that's going to happen now in July, and probably certification hopefully in the fourth quarter of 2021. So with that, what I will do is I'm going to try to seamlessly move to a video that will to show you a little bit about who we are in our plant, to give you a snapshot into who we are. Let me see if I can do that. This is always a challenge here. Bear with me for a moment. So this is a little video. Hopefully technology works. Let's see.
Welcome to Darlington Fabrics. My name's Steve Perry. We're going to be taking you on a tour today of our facilities. We have
Doctor, can you see the video?
This one at
Oh, yeah, we can see it, yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
We'll be taking you over to the Canal Street Dyeing and Finishing facility. Darlington Fabrics was acquired by the Moore Company in 1972. Shortly after that acquisition, Darlington relocated to this facility that we're in today. This building was built in 1909. I'll show you a little bit about the building and the history of Darlington and George Seymour. We hope today to share with you a little bit of our knowledge base on warp knits and how we do it and what it takes to make a yard of fabric. World-class raw materials are at the foundation of Darlington's warp knit products. You'll see today packages of both nylon, polyester, and spandex, and we will show you our warping process a little bit later on in this tour. So I'm standing at the back end of one of our 2 rigid warpers here at Darlington Fabrics, and warping is simply the process of transferring the raw material from the package to our aluminum beams that we will load on our knitting machines. I want to note that we actually have total traceability from package of yarn to the beam and then carrying out through the entire process of knitting, dyeing, and finishing, and ultimately the yard of fabric. I'm standing behind our second rigid warping machine. Currently, we've actually got nylon loaded on this machine. It's 70 denier 17 filament bright nylon that we utilize in both the activewear market as well as the medical market. This actually happens to be our newest nylon warper. This particular machine was installed approximately 3 years ago. We have actually made a heavy investment in warping here at Darlington Fabrics. We basically felt that this gives us the most flexibility in our manufacturing processes to warp as much raw material as we need ourselves. So I'm standing behind one of our 3 spandex warping machines. Warping spandex is a little bit different than warping either nylon or polyester. Spandex is a little bit more delicate, and also obviously it stretches. So this warping process is extremely important to make a good quality warp knit elastomeric product. As we continue to talk about investment, Darlington made this investment in this new warping machine approximately 3 years ago. And again, we like the ability to be able to warp our own raw materials. That gives us the most flexibility in the manufacturing process. I'm not sure how well this shows up on camera, but again, spandex stretches. Very, very important key to spandex warping is ensuring that you've got equal amount of tension from the beginning of the package all the way to the beam. So after we've warped either the nylon, polyester, or spandex, it needs to be stored generally for a short amount of time before it's actually loaded onto a waiting knitting machine. So what we have here behind us is some of the raw material that we've got stored here. It shows that obviously it takes quite a lot of raw material in order to run a substantial warp knit operation such as Darlington. We've got a lot of capital tied up in our raw materials that I have here behind me. But again, this is what it takes in order to ensure that we have the raw materials in place for our customers and their requirements. So the next step in our process after warping is actually knitting the fabric. We take the raw material on beams and load it onto our knitting machines, whether that be nylon, polyester, or a combination of nylon, polyester, and spandex.
What you'll be able to see in further detail is how the stitch formation process actually happens on each of those machines. And it basically involves 3 key elements: a needle, a closure, and a guide unit. That guide unit is taking an individual end, helping it direct down to a needle where that needle has a hook head on it, and it's a very high-speed process where that needle is rising and falling. That end is swinging behind, shifting over, and then back in front of that needle and creating a knitted loop. There's a closure unit that helps to close that hook head so that that previous loop that was knit can cast off. And it's just repeating that motion at a very high rate of speed, in some cases 4,000 times in a minute, over and over and over again. Depending on the individual movements of that guide unit from left to right, we can create different surface interest on the fabric. We can create holes in the fabric to create mesh type stitches, different widths of fabric. Depending on the number of needles and the number of guide blades on that machine, we create different physical attributes, stretches.
Behind me, we have 66 warp knitting machines on the floor. Over the last 6 years, we've invested in 18 new warp knitting machines. Again, carrying on with the theme of Darlington investing in our future. So after the fabric is knitted, we've turned it into what we call graze fabric. It needs to be stored for a short amount of time before it's transferred to our Canal Street dyeing and finishing facility. Behind me, you'll see some examples of some of our graze fabrics. This happens to be nylon spandex and polyester spandex containing fabrics, so they are suspended versus laid. But again, each one of these graze rolls is got a barcode on it. So we're actually continuing on that theme of traceability through the entire process. Each graze fabric roll is then allocated to a shop order once there's a dye order attached. Approximately 4 years ago, Darlington decided to get ISO certified. We have been certified now for 4 years, ISO 9001-2015. Again, traceability is an incredibly important theme in ISO. So once the graze fabric is allocated to an order, we create a shop order. And as I mentioned, then it is the graze fabric is then ready to be transported to our dyeing and finishing facility on Canal Street. We actually load the graze fabric into these aluminum racks, and then those are actually loaded into our container trucks. So 24 hours a day, we're transferring graze fabric from this facility to the Canal Street facility. So the fabric makes its way from the Beach Street facility to the Canal Street facility where I stand now. It's brought over in our trucks through these shipping docks right here. The fabric is unloaded from the truck on the racks and then stored in the gray rolls, similar to how we do it at the Beach Street plant that you've seen previously. So now the fabric is ready to be prepped for dye. So generally speaking, the routing for us is that the fabric moves down one of our 2 tenter frames to be preset with heat and a little bit of chemistry in order to be ready for its next step of dyeing. Behind me is one of our 2 tenter frames that we primarily use for preparing the fabric for dye. So what we have right here next to me and behind me are all fabrics that have been prepped for dye. So they've all run down the tenter frame that we just visited and have been placed on either beams, pressure or atmospheric, and are ready to be dyed. They've all run through had a little bit of heat as well as a little bit of chemistry to make them receptive to the dye process. So we're here in the color lab, and in this lab we develop the colors and chemistries for our customers. Our customers all have the capability of speccing in custom color and chemistry for each of the fabrics that they run here at Darlington Fabrics. So in this lab, on small scales, we have small scale production equipment and basically create those formulas that we then move down to the production floor once approved by the customer. So we're here in the other part of the color lab where we can actually do super dips. And simply super dips are basically larger lab dips that we can do anywhere between 10 to call it 20 yards on your own substrate in your own color. The fabric won't be exactly to specification for stretch and physical properties, but from an aesthetic standpoint, it will be as close as we can get so that you're able to either do salesman samples or prototypes in your custom colors for your ultimate customers. So we're here in the color lab where we evaluate the color with our spectrophotometers. It's important to note that the spectrophotometers here in this lab are linked to our production floor of the spectros in the dye house, so that we are sharing the same data to ensure that the lab dips that we've developed, we're matching on the production floor as well. So we're in the dye house office. This is the nerve center for our dye house. All of the machines that we have on the floor are both scheduled as well as operated by the computers and servers that I have here behind me. So we're here on the dye house floor. Here we've got all of our dye equipment, both pressure beams, atmospheric beams, pressure jets, and atmospheric jets. Behind me is our chemical dispensing unit. This unit actually dispenses all the chemistry in the dye process directly into the dye vessels themselves. And that's all controlled through the computers in the dye house office that we reviewed. Jet dye lots have to go through one additional step before they're actually final finished. They actually have to get what we call detwisted or opened up, because the fabric comes out in rope form, and we need to actually spread that fabric out so that we can, at final finish run, be able to apply the chemistry evenly across the fabric. So after a fabric has been dyed, it needs to go through its final finish run. We're basically giving it its final chemistry and setting its final specifications. And at the end of this machine, we've actually got an online inspection machine where we are inspecting that fabric as we're running it. We have a segment of our product line that is face finished. And when I mean face finished, I mean either sueded or napped. And we are basically either raising loops to make an unbroken loop, hook receptive fabric, or we're breaking loops to make a sueded fabric to give that synthetic fabric an almost cotton-like feel. Behind me is a dual drum napper that we utilize to raise the loops. This machine has wires that grab the fabric loops and raise them again to make them hook receptive. So I'm at the back end of our stenter frame, and this machine is our final finished stenter frame. And as you can tell here, we have an inspection machine at the back side. This is where we inspect approximately 85 to 90% of our fabric on this inspection system right here. So as the fabric comes off of the inspection station and is wrapped, it's dropped into these blue bins. Once the dye lot is finished, these blue bins are loaded onto our container trucks, moved over to the Beach Street facility where they're finally packed and ready to ship to our customers. So we're here in our physical testing quality assurance laboratory. This is where every single dye lot at Darlington that's produced is tested for its physical specifications. Those are predetermined between Darlington and our customers, but we can do a host of different testing here for weight, for stretches, and a variety of other tests as well. So after a dye lot is inspected and packaged, it then moves to our warehouse to be stored for a short period of time while the balance of the shipment is being put together and processed. And once that happens, then the goods will move from here to our shipping dock. And most shipments are done on pallets, as you can see here. They'll be orbitally wrapped to be shipped offshore, or potentially they can be loose loaded at a later time into a container for shipment. This is where we actually assemble the shipments, where the goods are actually prepared to go out the door. As you can tell, we make a very nice package that can be shipped virtually anywhere in the world. So I'm standing in our sample department. The sample department is a really key department in the sales process. Our customers generally want to touch and feel our fabrics to get an idea of the attributes that they have and the quality level of the particular styles. So here we actually have examples of cut hangers. These are samples that would be sent out to a client if they're considering a new style or an adoption. And then once they've determined a particular fabric that they think might fit their needs, we can offer them a couple of yards to be cut. We also have that in our sample department of certain styles in a variety of different colors and finishes and with different levels of technology on them, to be able to offer them yardage to make their prototypes. Our goal always is to try to get a sample out within 48 hours of request. Thank you so much for participating today in the Darlington Fabrics virtual tour. If you require any more information in regards to product, or any more detail about what Darlington does, or any processes that we've reviewed today, please feel free to connect with us and we will get that to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much.
That was wonderful, Stephen.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I am sensitive to the time. I know we've kind of hit our mark of 10 a.m. I've got, if anybody wants to drop off, I totally understand, but I do just have like 5 quick slides just to show, I promised I would show some of the end use categories and how our products are utilized. But again, I understand if you need to drop off, but please feel free to reach out to me if you have any other questions. You don't get an opportunity to ask them today. I'd be happy to connect with you via email or another Zoom call at another time. But let me just quickly, let me see if I can pivot quickly to show you some products. One second. So you heard me talk about unbroken loop fabrics in this headgear, you know, which is wrapped around the mannequin's head. That black fabric is traditionally what they call an unbroken loop fabric, and that's what we're making for the medical business in a fairly large fashion. Generally, those fabrics are laminated, so they're either flame laminated or another lamination process to a skin side fabric. Darlington, generally speaking, supplies those fabrics both to the customer, but that respiratory headgear market is one that has been a good one for Darlington. Bear with me. Can you see these?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, good. And then I talked about medical compression garments. So garments worn post-surgical. So this is a good market for Darlington, a good market for warp knits. Generally speaking, high spandex content containing fabrics can range anywhere from 30 to a little over 50%. So definitely a specialty fabric. So the activewear market is important for Darlington. We tend to spend a little bit more on kind of the higher end of, as many as you know, the activewear end use category is dominated in circular knit. But if you really need compression, a warp knit is a great alternative to a circular knit. So that's certainly a good market for Darlington. Intimate apparel is also a very good market for Darlington. We would tell you that mostly we participate in more of the shapewear side in the intimate apparel market, but you know, this market is very good, and we're seeing some additional opportunities in this space right now as our customers are shifting some of their demand back to this hemisphere. And the orthopedic market, in this picture, that knee brace, but that's also a good market for Darlington and a place where we're actually growing in this orthopedic market. So those are just some of the end use categories that we participate in, just to give you a little bit of an idea of who we are and what our customers do with our fabric. And that's basically all I've got to share with you guys today. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Steve. It's a real good, fruitful presentation. Now, see what our interest, as I said in the beginning. So how to go about it from now on? Because you make visit to India, maybe we will ask our own people who are all interested in kind of a collaboration with you or a partnership with you. So we'll start the dialogue here, because the people who are all participated today, they're all interested to have a technical collaboration, and we can work it out from now on how we can go about it. So if you are able to give some idea, then it'd be good for us.
Understood. I mean, I think at the moment, we'd love to, again, we're just meeting for the first time, and some of these things take a long time to form relationships and partnerships between companies. I think I would share with you, we always pick our partners carefully, and I'm sure everybody on the call does the same. But our focus at the moment is to see if there are opportunities for our fabrics that we manufacture here for the Indian market. I've been speaking to some of that are on the call. I'm going to provide some pricing. I've provided some samples already. We are not the lowest cost manufacturer out there. It's not our goal to try to compete with China or Taiwan or Korea. We feel like we offer a little bit higher quality and service to go along with it, and with that comes a little bit of a cost. But again, we're very interested in exploring opportunities with the companies on the line today, no doubt.
Thank you, Steve. What we can do is, because as you said, we can't decide something on the spot. We have to have a communication for some time. Then we will post your email address to all the participants today.
Perfect.
And I request all the participants, you can start asking what are the doubts, what are the issue you want to discuss, and how to go about it straight to, you can address the mail to Steve and copy to AEPC. Will be the platform to connect you and Steve there. And Steve, of course, there are only 10-11 people now, so you can start responding to them. And
sure,
maybe after some time, then if you feel that you need another VC with all the participants, so we may arrange this. By the time all the members participated today, please utilize this opportunity. And you have seen the presentation, lovely presentation by Steve. I can boldly say that Darlington is one of the very important fabric manufacturer of man-made fiber garments and active wear, medical wear, whatever you call it. So this opportunity, please utilize it. With this, Navin, you want to say something? Please go ahead, and we can.
Okay, there's a Stephen. There is a question by Kishan Daga. So may I read out to you?
For sure.
Wonderful. Hi Steve, please advise if you face any problems of vertical streaks in polyesters or nylons, with or without sooting. If yes, what's the best way out? If you don't mind sharing, do you always use bare spandex, or you use covered spandex is also relevant in your industry? What's the price for super dips compared to bulk fabric? Do you use only one brand of dyes and chemicals for automatic dye dispenser?
Sure. So I would tell you that we do only knit with bare spandex. We don't do anything with covered spandex. We do some warping of covered spandex as a side business, but we only utilize bare spandex. As far as vertical streaks, I would share with you that no, that's not necessarily an issue for us. It's not something I'm necessarily familiar with. I mean, not to say that we don't have quality issues or quality challenges, but vertical streaking isn't generally one of them. And prices of super dips, generally speaking, we do that as a service to bring through orders. Generally speaking, it's probably about 4 times the price of production pricing. somewhere in that ballpark. We just do a straight across the board charge for super dips. But again, the whole purpose of super dips for us is to again help our customers, make prototypes or salesman samples, as we call them, in order to do that. We generally do that on a case-by-case basis. And lab dips, I don't know if this was part of your question, but we don't charge for lab dips. Lab dips are in the price of the fabric themselves. That's a service. That's an important step to making sure that we match your color the right way, and that you're happy with our particular color that we've established on our fabric. So hopefully I've answered your question, but I would share with you that quality is what we do. We spend a lot of time and energy getting fabrics right. The first time we work very closely with our raw material supply chain to ensure that hopefully we can avoid a lot of those problems up front by selecting the right raw materials. In the dispensing unit, I know you asked about the dispensing unit, the chemical dispensing unit. Those are our core chemistries that we introduce into the dye cycle. We do not automatically dispense our dyes, though. Only our auxiliary chemicals into the dye vessels themselves. The dyes are weighed by hand and measured and then dosed in the dosing tanks at the right dyeing steps.
Wonderful. If anyone has any more questions, please feel free to ask here, or you can email me. My email ID I've given in the chat, or Dr. Sakthivel office is there to assist you, to connect you with Steve. Well, timings may not be right now because of COVID, but it will be great idea Dr. Sakthivel has shared with Stephen to visit India one time, because that will give you a good feeler also, making the right connections. And Dr. Sakthivel, sir, your office is already open for Stephen and for your members to take it forward. I'm available anytime to anyone. You can reach out to me, and Stephen is here now. So sir, please, whatever model or whatever way you think is the best way to approach it, so please feel free. Stephen, you feel free to.
Thank you so much. No, and I appreciate the time and everybody taking this time in your evening to be introduced to our company. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes, Navin, really I appreciate and thank you for creating this platform between us and Mr. Steve. And now AEPC will play a platform between Navin, Steve, and our members. So we will be posting Steve's mail ID and your mail ID. Feel free to ask anything to Mr. Steve and give a copy to us. So this is only a beginning. So we'll be seeing very soon that progress on this, I can say, tie-up or a collaboration between Darlington and the AEPC and members of Exporters of India, Processing House of India. With this, once again, I thank Steve and Navin. All the best, and thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Stephen.
Very welcome.